I wasn't even planning to clean my car that Saturday morning. I'd pulled into the driveway the night before and left the fast food wrappers in the back seat and some crumpled napkins stuffed in the glove box. It wasn't until the sun hit the windshield just right that I saw the mess and figured I should clean up a little before Aaron needed it again. I was tossing out old receipts and random gum wrappers when I heard it, a soft clink, like metal tapping against plastic. I paused, tilting my head. It came from the glove compartment. I opened it, and there it was, buried under a few napkins and a crumpled state inspection receipt. A sleek black box. I frowned. The kind of box you'd get from a boutique or jewelry shop. No label, no tag, just black. I pulled it out and sat in the driver's seat, the box in my lap. It didn't feel heavy, but something about it made my stomach twist. I opened it slowly. Inside was a men's bracelet, a silver chain, not flashy, but expensive looking. It had an engraved plate. I leaned in, heart pounding now. Zach. That was it. Just the name. Zach. I closed the box. My first thought was, did Aaron buy me a gift? But that didn't track. My birthday was 3 months ago, and we didn't exchange just because presents. That wasn't our style. I thought maybe it was something she picked up for her brother, but Aaron didn't have a brother. Then the stupid question that came into my head, even though I already knew the answer. Who's Zach? I sat there for a while, probably 15, 20 minutes, just staring out the windshield with the box still sitting in my lap like it was some kind of bomb. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I didn't want to be that guy, the paranoid boyfriend. But my chest felt tight. I took a deep breath and shoved the box back into the glove compartment, under the napkins again, exactly where I found it. I didn't slam it shut. I didn't toss the bracelet across the yard. I just sat there, trying to slow my breathing. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I needed to be sure. Instead, I went back into the house, kissed Erin on the cheek while she was making coffee like nothing had happened. And from that moment on, I started watching her, closely, quietly. Something told me that bracelet was going to change everything. The next morning started like any other. I made the coffee while Erin toasted 2 bagels, plain, the way she liked them, with too much cream cheese in the middle. The kitchen smelled like cinnamon and cheap grocery store beans. She was humming along to some song I didn't recognize. You'd never guess I'd found a strange man's bracelet in the car the day before. I kept my tone easy, like I was just making conversation. "Hey," I said casually, sliding her mug across the table. "Do you know anyone named Zach?" She paused mid-sip, just for a second, blinked, then laughed like I'd asked her if we had milk. "Oh yeah, Zach's this guy I work with. Why?" I shrugged, keeping my eyes on my coffee. "Just saw the name on something. Thought it might be someone you knew." There was a flicker in her expression, barely there. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, something she only ever did when she was nervous, and sat up straighter. "Oh my God," she said, voice a little too bright. "Wait, did you see the bracelet?" I nodded once, playing it cool. "I thought I threw it in my purse. It's for his birthday next week. Everyone's chipping in for something small. It's like a joke gift, kind of. Nothing big." She laughed again, this time louder, like she was trying to fill the room with it. "You must have found it in the glove box, huh? I was going to wrap it yesterday, but I totally forgot." She wouldn't stop talking. I watched her closely. She was overselling it, grabbing at details like she was trying to get ahead of any question I might ask. "He's super into these old school chains. It's kind of his thing. His name's Zachary, but everyone calls him Zach. He's harmless. Totally married, by the way." Married. That part didn't sit right with me. She tossed it in too quickly, like she wanted to neutralize the idea before it could even form. I took a slow sip of coffee and nodded again. "That makes sense," I said. She smiled at me across the table, like we'd cleared it up and everything was fine now. But her fingers were wrapped tight around her mug, her knuckles turning pale. She looked like she was bracing for a storm that never came. I didn't push. Instead, I watched her for the rest of the weekend. Little things started to stand out. She was on her phone more than usual, always tilting the screen away from me. She spent longer in the bathroom getting ready for work. I caught her reapplying lipstick at 9 o'clock at night, just before running to the store. I wanted to believe her. God, I really did. But something was off. I felt it. And that bracelet, that was no joke gift. I used to love the silence between us, the comfortable kind. Sunday mornings with the coffee maker humming and Erin scrolling on her phone beside me. A kind of quiet that made the house feel warm. That silence was different now. It was thicker, heavier, and when I looked over at her, curled up on the couch with her legs tucked under a blanket, phone tilted just out of my line of sight, I didn't feel close to her. I felt shut out. Since the bracelet conversation, Erin had been glued to her phone. Not in an obvious way. She wasn't giggling at texts or walking off to take calls. It was quieter than that. Just a little more cautious, a little more private. She used to leave her phone on the table when she went to the bathroom. Now she took it with her. She used to leave the screen facing up. Now it was always face down. I started paying attention to the patterns. She'd smile at her screen and type fast when she thought I wasn't watching. Sometimes she'd pause and glance over at me, like she was checking to see if I noticed. I always looked away before she could catch my eyes. One night, around midnight, I rolled over in bed and saw the glow of her phone lighting up the covers. She was lying on her side, smiling faintly at the screen. When she saw me shift, she locked it and set it aside without a word. "Everything okay?" I asked. She nodded, still facing the wall. "Yeah, just couldn't sleep." I stared at the ceiling for an hour after that, listening to her breathe. The next day, while she was in the shower, I opened her Instagram and searched for Zach. Nothing. I checked her following list. No one by that name, no tagged photos, no old likes. I did the same on Facebook. Same result. If Zach really was just a coworker, he didn't exist online, or she was hiding him. A couple nights later, Erin came home late from a team dinner. She smelled like red wine and expensive cologne, something that didn't belong to her or me. Her hair was still pinned up neatly, her makeup barely smudged. I waited until she went to sleep and sat at the kitchen table in the dark, trying to piece it all together. The bracelet, the over-the-top explanation, the sudden uptick in phone secrecy, the extra effort with her clothes, her hair, her timing, the way she always had her phone near her hand. My mind kept looping through the same reel of questions. Who was Zach? Was she seeing him? Was I imagining all of this? But the truth was, I didn't want to know the answer yet. Knowing would make it real. It would force me to do something. So instead, I watched. I waited. And every night, lying next to her while she slept soundly, I felt the gap between us grow a little wider. The silence didn't feel safe anymore. It felt like a warning. It was a Tuesday afternoon when my phone rang. I was sitting at my desk, going through a half-finished spreadsheet, when I saw the unknown number flash across the screen. I almost let it go to voicemail. I wish I had. "Hello? Hi, is this Christopher Langley?" "Yeah, speaking." "This is Jenny from Silver Grove Health and Wellness. We're calling to confirm your STD screening appointment scheduled for Thursday at 3 p.m. I blinked. "My what?" "STD screening," she repeated, sounding chipper like she was confirming a teeth cleaning. "It's booked under your name and date of birth. Just wanted to make sure you're still coming in." My chest went cold. "Number?" "I didn't make that appointment." She paused. "It was scheduled online through our patient portal. You're listed as the patient." I sat back in my chair, silent for a moment too long. "Can you tell me who submitted it?" "Unfortunately, we can't give out any personal account information, even if it's under your name," she said quickly. "Would you like us to cancel it?" I didn't even answer. I just hung up. I sat there staring at the wall for a full minute before I finally got up and walked to the kitchen, needing air, needing space, needing something. Erin was at the counter, slicing limes for whatever dinner cocktail she was planning. She looked up and smiled. "You okay? You look like you saw a ghost." I didn't say anything right away. Then, "Did you schedule an STD test for me?" She froze for half a second. Just one heartbeat. Then she blinked, feigned confusion, and gave a tiny laugh. "Wait, what?" I didn't repeat myself. She set the knife down. "Oh, okay, I can explain. That's so weird, I meant to schedule one for me. I must have clicked the wrong box. I was using your laptop last week. Maybe I was logged into something under your name. I didn't realize it went through like that." She smiled, trying to play it off like it was funny. "I guess I'll just have to fix it. No big deal." Except it was. She had never mentioned needing a test, never brought it up, never said a word until the clinic called me directly. "Why would you use my name?" I asked, keeping my tone flat. "I didn't mean to, I swear. It was just a mix-up." She was already walking away from the counter like it didn't matter, like it was fixed now. But my mind was already turning. Did she think I was cheating? Was she trying to test me for something she thought I gave her? Or Was she afraid I'd find out something she had? Either way, it didn't sit right. That night, she kissed me goodnight like nothing happened, but I didn't sleep. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, wondering how long I'd been living with someone who didn't see me as a partner. Just a name to borrow, a cover to use, a loose end to manage. It happened on a Thursday night while Erin was in the shower. She had left her laptop open on the dining room table, which was rare. Normally, she closed everything, shut the screen, even took it into the bedroom. But this time, just left it. I don't know what made me walk over. Curiosity, maybe, or something closer to instinct. The screen hadn't gone to sleep yet. Her email was open. I told myself I'd just glance. One glance, then walk away. But right there, in the sidebar, was a folder labeled Zachary. Not Zach, Zachary. My hand hovered over the trackpad. I hesitated. Then I clicked. The folder held 53 emails, all between her and one address, z.summers@email.net. I opened the oldest one first. I'm still shaking. I can't believe we actually pulled it off. The reply was right underneath it. Told you we could. He doesn't even suspect a thing. He's too trusting. Makes it easy. My blood ran cold. I opened the next one. It was flirtatious. Flirty in the way people are when they're used to each other. Not awkward, not new. They had been doing this for a while. More emails followed, some short, others long and detailed. Discussions about fake invoices, dummy PayPal accounts, a made-up marketing consulting business they had set up on paper only. Everything tracked back to my name, my assets. They were filtering money through an LLC I didn't even know existed. And then I found it, an email with the subject line, Weekend Plans Champagne Toast. There was an attachment. I clicked it. It was a photo. Erin sitting on the edge of a hotel bed, wearing a robe, legs crossed, hair down, glass of champagne in one hand. She was smiling, posing for the camera. Behind her, blurry in the mirror, was a man's torso, no face, just a bare shoulder and the edge of a tattoo. My stomach twisted. There was another photo, her standing in front of a full-length mirror, half-dressed, taking a selfie. Her hand was holding the phone, but you could see someone else's hand around her waist. I closed the email, sat there for a long moment, staring at the screen. They weren't just sleeping together. They were planning something, calculated, deliberate. It wasn't just cheating, it was a scheme. And I was the mark. I should have felt anger or heartbreak, but mostly I felt numb. Like the part of me that would have exploded had already burned out. I closed the laptop and placed it back exactly how I found it. Same angle, same brightness. When Erin came out 20 minutes later, damp hair wrapped in a towel, she smiled at me like nothing was wrong. Want to watch something? Sure, I said. We sat on the couch like any other night, but something had shifted. I wasn't searching for signs anymore. I had them. Now I just needed a plan. I didn't blow up. I didn't scream, didn't flip a table, didn't pack her things into trash bags and toss them onto the front lawn like some bad TV drama. No, I did what I've always done. I kept my mouth shut and started working. The first thing I did was change all my passwords, bank accounts, email, even the Netflix login. Then I went through every joint financial document we had, bank statements, credit cards, auto payments. I flagged anything that looked even slightly off. I froze our joint savings account that afternoon. Said it was a precaution after noticing suspicious charges. Erin didn't even question it, just nodded and kept scrolling on her phone like I'd mentioned the weather. The next day I called Eric. Eric and I go back about 10 years. We met at a poker night through mutual friends. These days, he worked private security, mostly corporate stuff, discreet investigations, digital footprints, the kind of guy who didn't ask too many questions. I told him just enough to get him started. I need eyes on two people, Erin and a guy named Zach. I don't have a last name yet, but I've got an email address. I think they're laundering money through me. Eric didn't even flinch. Text me what you have. I'll look into it. After that call, I sat in my truck in the driveway for a while, gripping the steering wheel like it could hold me together. This wasn't just about cheating anymore. This was a setup. She wasn't planning to leave me for another guy. She was planning to clean me out first. I started documenting everything, took photos of the emails on her laptop with my phone, organized them in a private Google Drive folder. I even started recording voice memos of my thoughts, in case I ever needed a timeline. At home, I played the same role I always had. the quiet, dependable boyfriend. I took out the trash. I brought her coffee in bed. I nodded along when she told me about some fake work drama, knowing full well she was probably texting Zach under the table. She didn't suspect a thing. That week, I noticed she'd been extra affectionate, more than usual. Light touches on my shoulder, asking about my day, laughing too hard at dumb jokes. I think she was testing me, trying to make sure I hadn't caught on yet. I smiled back, kissed her forehead, pretended everything was fine. But every time she touched me, I flinched inside. Because now, I wasn't just watching, I was preparing. And if she thought I was going to roll over and let them take everything I'd built, she didn't know me at all. Eric called me on a Monday. His tone was flat, professional, but underneath it, I could tell something about what he found had gotten under his skin. "You're gonna want to see this in person," he said. "You free tonight?" We met in a parking lot behind a strip mall outside town, the kind of place where no one asks questions and half the lights are out. He slid into my truck, handed me a manila envelope, and let out a long breath. "Your guy Zach? Full name is Zachary Summers, and he's not just some coworker. He runs or pretends to run 3 LLCs in the state of California. One of them filed a lease for a unit in South Shore under a shell company. Guess whose name is on it as the managing partner?" I opened the folder. There it was. A lease agreement for a 2-bedroom apartment on Marlowe Avenue. Tenant, North Bay Consulting, LLC. Managing partner, Aaron M. Davison, my girlfriend, my live-in partner. I flipped to the next page. Utility bills, all under the LLC's name, tied to an account that drew directly from our joint bank account. One I'd only just frozen. "She's been funding this?" I asked. Eric nodded. "Everything. Rent, utilities, even a P.O. box listed under the business name. She didn't even try to hide it well. Looks like she and Zach have been running fake consulting invoices through North Bay to legitimize the withdrawals. I'm still digging into the other 2 businesses." My fingers tightened around the folder. "There's more," he added, flipping his phone around to show me photos. Grainy, zoomed-in shots of Aaron walking into the Marlowe apartment building. Not once, not twice. Regularly, sometimes with bags, sometimes alone. One time with Zach, his face turned slightly toward the lens, arm brushing her lower back. I stared at the screen, my jaw clenched so tight it hurt. "She's not just cheating," I said quietly. "She's setting up a new life, a clean break." Eric gave a small nod. "Looks like it." I drove by the apartment later that night, just to see it for myself. It was nicer than I expected. Modern brickwork, coated gate, neatly manicured hedges, a second-floor corner unit. The lights were on. I parked a block away and sat there, watching the glow from the window. I imagined her in there, maybe with him, ordering takeout, planning the next move, probably laughing about how easy it had been to drain me dry without me ever catching on. Except now I had. I started putting together a binder when I got home. Printed copies of everything. Emails, bank transactions, the lease, photos. I labeled it all carefully. Because this wasn't about heartbreak anymore. It wasn't about betrayal. It was fraud. And if she thought she could steal from me and walk away clean, she hadn't just underestimated me, she'd picked the wrong guy to scam. By the time I walked into the lawyer's office, I wasn't nervous anymore. I was done feeling stunned or betrayed or heartbroken. I was just ready. I'd spoken to a few attorneys over the phone earlier in the week, but it was Linda Mercer who didn't blink when I explained everything. The fake businesses, the shell accounts, the apartment under a bogus lease. She sat back in her chair, nodded slowly, and said, "Good. You've already done half my job." We met again the following morning. I brought the binder with all the evidence, and she got right to work. Our goal was simple: freeze anything Aaron could touch. "Financial abuse in domestic partnerships is serious," she said. "What you've shown me goes beyond infidelity. She's committing fraud, Chris. And we're going to make sure she doesn't get $1 more from you." We filed the emergency injunction paperwork the next day. Everything was done quietly. Nothing served to the house. Nothing mailed to the residence. Linda had a judge sign off on freezing any joint assets, plus a cease on the North Bay Consulting account, pending an investigation. Meanwhile, at home, Aaron acted like we were living in a Hallmark movie. She baked banana bread from scratch one night, lit candles at dinner, started wearing my old college sweatshirt like it meant something. "You've seemed lighter lately," she said, as she curled up beside me on the couch. "Like your energy shifted." "Maybe it did," I said. She kissed me on the cheek and rested her head on my shoulder. I didn't move. Behind her back, I kept watching the dominoes line up. Our phone plan, previously bundled under my name, was now split. Her line, deactivated. I switched out my passwords, alerted my accountant, shut down the auto deposits she'd been sneaking into that phony business. The following Friday, I got a call from Linda. She's going to feel the squeeze soon. The account freezes are confirmed. Anything she tries to access over the weekend will bounce. I thanked her and hung up, my hand trembling slightly as I stared at the phone. Not from fear, from anticipation. That night, Erin came home later than usual, said she was stuck in traffic, kissed my cheek like nothing had changed. I noticed the faintest smear of lipstick on her teeth, and the smallest clink of a new keychain when she dropped her purse on the kitchen chair. She had no idea her house of cards had already started to fall. I sat there watching her move around the kitchen, humming something tuneless, sipping white wine from one of our good glasses. She looked calm, composed. But the next few days, they were going to be hell. And she wouldn't even know where it came from. By Sunday, I knew her credit card would be declined. The rent payment on the Marlowe apartment would bounce. The phony invoice she submitted to that dummy client would go unanswered because I'd already notified the state. All I had to do now was wait. Let the silence do the talking. Let the system I built around her begin to collapse on its own. And while she kept smiling, still oblivious, I sat across the room with a quiet grin of my own. This was no longer about revenge. It was about survival, and this time, I was 2 steps ahead. It started on a Wednesday morning. I was already up when Erin came stomping out of the bedroom, phone clutched tight in one hand. Her face was twisted in a way I hadn't seen before, somewhere between confusion and panic. "Did you cancel the savings account?" she asked, voice sharp. I kept my tone calm. "What?" "Our account," she repeated. "I just tried to transfer money and it bounced back. I called the bank and they said it's locked pending legal action. What the hell is going on?" I shrugged. "That's weird." She stared at me like she was trying to figure out if I was messing with her. An hour later, she stormed back in with her laptop. "And North Bay Consulting just got flagged for fraud by the state comptroller's office. They froze the business account. How could that even happen?" I looked up from my coffee. "I don't know. Maybe someone reported suspicious activity." She froze, just for a second. I went back to sipping my coffee. She didn't say anything after that, just walked out and slammed the door. That afternoon, the emails started. I saw them on her face. She'd check her phone, then go pale. Her eyes darted around like she was trapped in some invisible maze. Legal notices, tax audits, account inquiries. One after another, and I just watched. She stopped humming when she cooked. She didn't light candles anymore. Her phone calls became frantic and short, always ending with her pacing the kitchen floor. I knew she was calling Zach, but I also knew his end was crumbling too. Eric had gotten enough on him to trigger multiple investigations into the LLCs. One of them was already under scrutiny for improper filings. By Friday, she was unraveling. "Chris," she said quietly that evening, standing in the hallway, her arms folded like she was trying to hold herself together. "I think someone's targeting me." "Targeting you?" I echoed. "I don't know who. Maybe someone I worked with at the consulting firm. Maybe a client. I don't know." I let the silence stretch until it got uncomfortable. "I'm scared," she said finally. I gave a soft nod. "Yeah, that makes sense." The next day, she got a letter from our old accountant. He was resigning, citing undisclosed fraudulent activity. I watched her read it twice, then crumble it in her hand. By Sunday, the cracks had spread beyond her. Her cousin Danielle stopped calling. A friend from yoga blocked her on Instagram. People had started whispering, piecing together parts of the story. Not everything, not yet, but enough. Erin's carefully managed image was slipping. She still didn't know I was behind it. That's what made it worse for her, I think, the not knowing. She'd look at me sometimes, like she wanted to ask, but she never did, and I never offered. I just kept living, kept moving forward like her world wasn't falling apart behind me, because the truth had finally started catching up. And for once, I didn't have to say a word. Erin was a shell of who she used to be. The woman who once floated through rooms like she owned them, perfect hair, sharp eyes, always a step ahead, was now pacing our living room in sweatpants, fingers trembling, muttering to herself. Her phone buzzed every few hours, each time pulling a little more life out of her face. She'd stopped wearing makeup. Her voice cracked when she talked, but still, She didn't know it was me. That was the most surreal part of all this. I wasn't hiding anymore, not really. I was just quiet, present but detached. She had no idea I'd been holding the knife the whole time, carving through the lies until all that was left was a mess she couldn't outrun. She spent most of her time those last few days calling Zach. I could tell by the way she whispered his name when she thought I wasn't in the room. At one point, I overheard her say, "He knows something. I don't know how, but Chris knows." That was the first time she got close to the truth. She still never asked me directly, though. Maybe she didn't want to know, or maybe she knew the answer and couldn't handle hearing it out loud. Then came the night of the video. It was a clip I'd kept buried for a while, recorded on my phone during a party we attended together nearly a year ago. I hadn't thought much of it back then. Just a casual clip of us laughing, a toast, glasses clinking. But when I looked at it again months later, I caught something I missed the first time. Erin, smiling, turning slightly away from the camera, pouring a second glass, then reaching into her purse with a smooth motion just before she handed it to me. That was the night I got sick, violently, out of nowhere. Back then, she said it must have been food poisoning, bad shrimp, blamed the caterer. But now, with everything I knew, that little smirk she gave when I doubled over in the bathroom felt like confirmation. So I clipped the moment, slowed it down, sharpened the resolution, and trimmed it to 20 seconds. Then I sent it to her email. No subject, no text, just the video. I sat in the next room as she opened it. I knew the moment it hit her. The silence that followed was thick, not a breath, not a word, not a single rustle of movement. Then I heard her cry. It wasn't loud or dramatic, just a low, stifled sob, the kind of cry that comes from someone who's finally cornered by their own reflection. I didn't check on her. The next morning, I was gone. I didn't slam doors. I didn't leave a note. I just took what was mine and left the rest for her to rot in. The house, the broken business shell, the secrets that couldn't hide anymore. I moved into a small apartment a few towns over. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. Clean, quiet, free. And Erin, I heard through mutual friends that she tried to explain it all away. Blamed hackers, blamed Zach, said she'd been framed, but no one really bought it. Most stopped answering her calls. Even Zach apparently ghosted her once the legal heat kicked in. That was fine by me, because she got the message. She knew I knew, and I was still standing.